This is the world's first mass production strong hybrid motorcycle, and it's from Kawasaki. The Kawasaki Ninja 7 Hybrid is not a plug-in motorcycle. It's not an all-electric. It is hybrid. It's got an ICE engine and it's got an electric motor to it. Now, is this the future of motorcycling? It's part of it, and we're here in Barcelona, Spain, to find out kind of what that future might look like. So to start, this is using Kawasaki's 451cc parallel twin engine that is pulled from the Kawasaki Eliminator, which actually has a longer stroke than the previous Ninja 400 engine. Mechanically, this is a really similar engine, but there are some changes to the intake funnels. They're a larger diameter and they're also a little bit shorter. What Kawasaki is doing there is trying to get a little bit more power up top. Now they can do that because it is supported by a permanent magnet electric motor that produces about 7 kilowatts or around 9 kilowatts maximum output, which is equivalent to around 12 horsepower. That is tied to a lithium-ion battery. In total, that battery and motor are going to weigh about 60 pounds, so you had 30 for the motor and 30 for the battery. Kawasaki is claiming right around 68.5 horsepower at 10,500 RPM. That's going to be quite a bit more than the Eliminator and definitely more than the Ninja 400. I should also say that is with what they call an e-boost function. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Now, before we get into how that engine works, I do want to talk about the electronics on this bike because it really is important and it's tied into the experience, because what you have is you have 3 different modes. So you have a full EV mode, you've got an eco hybrid mode, and you've got a sport hybrid mode. So as the name suggests, EV mode is only running on that battery and motor. Kawasaki claims about 9 miles total range. Now you do have some regenerative energy in there that's going to help this thing maintain some charge while you're riding it, but it's not for an extended stint of riding this in electric only mode. It is great for getting your errands done around town if you've got a short little commute, things like that. Today we're in Barcelona, Spain, big city center. We're riding back in the afternoon and we rode all the way through the city center in EV mode. The nice thing is with that regenerative energy, we hardly ran out of charge at all. Maximum speed that we saw was around 38 miles per hour. It accelerates hard enough off the line to get up even with a car. It really made the most sense for us in traffic type situations where you're just coming to a stop, easing along with traffic at really low speeds. You've got your eco hybrid mode, which is going to use the electric motor for your initial jump off the line, and then it's going to go into your internal combustion engine for everything beyond that. I'll be honest, eco hybrid isn't my favorite mode on this bike. It feels like kind of an in-between. You don't have the aggressive launch that you're going to get in sport, but at the same time, it doesn't really have that top end or mid-range power even. Now, sport hybrid is where you really feel the potential of this motorcycle. It exists as this Ninja full fairing bike because Kawasaki wants to showcase the sporting capabilities and that sporting heritage of the brand. They could have made this a Versys or any other bike, but they really wanted something with that full fairing sporty look and with that Ninja name to it, and they're trying to carry that personality through into that sport hybrid mode. You're kind of getting that 2 motorcycles in one. You have that complete EV experience in town if you want it, but then you've got a bike that you could go rip around through the canyons on, and you're not giving up any of that performance. The biggest thing that they're trying to accomplish here is make this a bike that is fuel efficient, that works in our modern world where you have these cities that are going into these low or no emission zones. Now, I do want to say that a big thing in terms of performance is using what I referred to earlier as that E-boost. It is a button that's on the right hand side of the handlebar. Now, this is a button that you can press when the parameters are correct. So you have to be in sport mode, you have to be at a certain throttle opening. But when those parameters are met, you can hit that button and for 5 seconds, you have an extra boost. And this thing accelerates really strong at that point. So it's gonna be really great for if, say you're on the highway, you need to accelerate past a car, for whatever reason, you wanna jump off the line really aggressively, but it makes this thing really exciting. And it was pretty cool. We had the chance today to, it sounds silly, but we were in a parking lot originally getting a feel for this bike. And the first time using the E-boost launch function, the thing just jumped forward and threw us back in the seat. So Kawasaki actually says this thing accelerates harder than their ZX-10 in the first short distance of jumping off the line. So it can be fun, it can be exciting. Another thing that's somewhat engine and technical related that I do want to talk about is the transmission. Now this uses an automatic transmission. You have an option of going automatic or manual. There is no clutch lever and no shift lever. Everything is done through an up and down paddle on the left-hand side of the handlebar. You can only use a manual transmission setting when you're in sport hybrid mode. Now that was a little frustrating for me. It seems like I was pushed into a little bit of a corner there when I'm riding the bike. Just because I want the performance of sport mode, I may still want that benefit of having an automatic transmission setting. As for the shifting itself, I thought it was really good. So this is a hydraulic electronic system. Kawasaki is using data getting pushed into the ECU, making those calculations to understand what the hydraulics need to do to shift. So it's not a dual clutch transmission, so that's gonna save them a little bit of weight. And yeah, I think they've done a really good job. So I was lucky enough to talk to the Kawasaki engineers and I asked them, I was like, what is the most difficult thing about developing this hybrid, the first hybrid motorcycle out on the market? And they said packaging. That was their biggest challenge, keeping everything as compact, lightweight, and small as possible. So they've done a really good job with that. However, it does mean that this bike, the dimensions of it are quite a bit different from what you're gonna see in a Ninja 400 or a Ninja 650. You've got a much longer wheelbase to it. The rake and trail are both a little bit more relaxed. You've got a longer swing arm. Now that swing arm is quite a bit longer because it is making room for the battery, which sits right back here. So the frame itself, it's based on the Ninja 400 frame. Really, that's just because it's a steel trellis frame. The bike weighs about 503 pounds. So it is quite a bit heavier, again, than your Ninja 400s, your Ninja 650s. Now I talk about weight and all of these things, but the reality is the bike doesn't feel that heavy, and it's a bike that you can still pick up off the kickstand. It's still very maneuverable. You get up into the canyons and it turns into the corners really well. I think the bike's very balanced. It's not moving around up and down a bunch. I'm actually a bigger guy, and a lot of times stock suspension feels really soft and the bike starts to move around, especially on the kind of lower tier models. Not to say that this is lower tier, but maybe like a Ninja 400. I think because of the adjustments Kawasaki has made to the suspension here, it actually works really well. There's really great support. Now, it's not perfect. Obviously, there are some sacrifices and challenges with the weight and the dimensions of this bike. Because of the longer wheelbase, it takes a little bit more to get the bike to lean in. And then once you kind of get it off its axis, then it kind of falls in a little bit quick. So it's not as linear steering as a Ninja 400 with more traditional geometry figures to it and a lower weight. It's a pretty traditional braking package, nothing super spectacular. On this bike with a little bit extra weight, I do end up using the rear brake a little bit. I think for most riders who are gonna be riding around town, things like that, it's more than enough. It's a really solid package. But this is Kawasaki learning so much about how to make a hybrid, how to find that balance between features and performance, right? So I think from a handling standpoint, they really have done a great job here with this bike. And I feel like I'm riding a standard, internal combustion engine motorcycle. Now, admittedly, I have not ridden a Ninja 400 recently, but I will say with this bike here, with the size of it, yes, it is a sport bike, so you've kind of got some sport bike ergos in the sense of this seat to foot peg gap. The knee bend is a little bit tight for me. I'm 6'3", so that's gonna happen on anything kind of sport bike related. The handlebars are quite tall and wide, so you're in a very upright riding position. And the width of the handlebar, in my opinion, adds some really good leverage to the bike. And I think that helps a lot in making this thing not steer so heavy. And kind of looking at that package, and if you could see how high those handlebars are, that is Kawasaki showing you that while they want some of that sporty Ninja pedigree in it, they also want this bike to be something that is a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. We rode today about 70 miles, nothing too crazy, but we did have some long stints with photo stops and things like that, and I wasn't uncomfortable. These are all challenges that Kawasaki is having to face, but it's doing that and it's facing that by building an actual production bike. This isn't a concept bike. This isn't just them saying, what could we do if we were to do this a couple years from now? They actually built it. I think that's really cool because it really heightens the stakes for them, right? I mean, it makes it like, hey, this is going on sale. We got to do it and we got to do it right. So they're learning, and they're learning through a package that I think they're going to take this technology and push it even further down the future into different platforms and different areas in the lineup. Now, hybrid is not the only thing that Kawasaki is working on. They've been working on hydrogen projects. They just introduced 2 all-electric models. Kudos to Kawasaki for building this. I think their primary market is going to be for Europe or other cities outside of the United States, but it is going to come into the United States. When? We're not too sure just yet. Kawasaki hasn't formally announced it for the US market, and that means obviously no pricing as well. We are certain it is coming to the States though. It's going to be a really exciting bike for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people who like tech. I think newer riders who kind of enjoy that concept of going green and helping the environment too. Really exciting things here in the Ninja 7 Hybrid. We're really excited to test out the first strong hybrid motorcycle, and really excited to see what Kawasaki has coming down the road. Thanks for tuning in to our review of the Kawasaki Ninja 7 Hybrid. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you didn't, hey, dislike it. Tell us what you didn't like. Again, ask us some questions. We want to get you some answers. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see you in the next video.